Hey, what is up? Hope you're doing well today. Welcome to the Creative Time Chamber. This is the 5-minute show helping you grow from shy creative to confident creative. Today's topic was actually influenced by some of you who voted on a poll I tweeted out. So hey, shout out to the voters. We'll get stuck in, pun intended, and it's how do you get unstuck as a creative professional? For me, it sometimes involves staring into space for a minute or two. I remain frozen. But I know those who listen to the show are working on projects outside their main job. So to set up the context, you have started this project of yours and you're not finding the energy, your ideas aren't popping, and you've lost the drive you had when you started. Your idea might even be great, but the execution is not up to par to your usual standards, and you're just wondering what the heck is going on. So there are 3 ways really, which I generally use as well whenever I feel like I've hit a wall. And first method to get unstuck is to use questioning. I'm a big fan of this, and it's something I'm trying to do more often. For example, I ask, how might X person tackle this problem? The X meaning putting yourself in someone else's shoes. That person being someone you look up to, a hero of yours, or a colleague, can allow you to see the challenge or problem from their perspective. If they're next to you, then could be you simply ask them. But this shift helps to detach your current thinking and attempt to adopt someone else's. And this idea was pretty much hammered home working with a director who was typically in and out of the office. So whenever I needed or the team needed to make a decision, that voice in my head would pop up. What would they do in this situation? So trying to run the idea through the lens of someone you admire is one way to get unstuck. Something I feel should be mentioned about the creative process is inevitably there will be high and low points in any project you take on. If you have experienced a project with zero friction, however, let me know in the comments. I'll be intrigued how that went. In terms of creative process and the following points I learned from Adam Grant's The 6-Step Creative Process is the stage creatives typically get stuck in is stages 3 and 4. Stage 3 is the this is crap phase. It's where self-doubt creeps in, the feeling that you've made progress but not enough to be satisfied or make an impact, and your ideas are just, well, crap. And then you get into stage 4, I am crap phase. Now you've definitely reached a lull point. You question everything up to that point if this project was worth taking on, and you show that everything that's going wrong. But of course, good things come to an end, and without a doubt, you make it through and complete the project. That's typically how the creative process goes. It sounds chaotic, right? But maybe you can relate, and you know exactly what I mean. Which brings me to method 2 to getting unstuck when you're in that weird middle stage I just described, and it's to seek feedback. You know, you could figure out the solution by yourself, and yeah, you eventually find a half-decent solution, but the fresh eyes and perspective you gain from someone else's input could be all you need. My mantra is passionate when working, detached during critique. You gotta be willing to take on all kinds of feedback, especially if you're in the creative field. Gotta have willingness to learn, to be challenged, and be open-minded to suggestions. All part of leveling up to go from shy to confident creative. But I do get it. Sometimes you just want to take ownership of the work. You want to grab tightly onto what's yours. However, I would suggest asking someone who is at a higher level than where you are right now to offer up a few pointers, rather than keeping your work in the dark. So seek feedback and check in with someone you respect when you feel stuck in the middle of your project. Oh, and shout out to the creators and visualizers on Twitter who I've interacted with over these past few weeks. It's energizing to see everyone post great content. I'm learning a lot, and I'm starting to offer graphic design advice to a few people too. It's all great vibes. And to give an example of seeking feedback, and shout out Jim on Twitter for this, I asked him, being a graphic designer, are there any mindsets to adopt to be a successful UX designer? And he replied with a whole 2-minute video, and that was huge. I didn't expect such an in-depth reply. So it just goes to show reaching out to creatives, especially on Twitter nowadays, plenty to gain. Now, the third and final method to get unstuck is to ship your work and embrace the result. Once it's out there, it's now being judged by your audience or your client. So whatever reaction you receive, especially if negative, you just gotta let it go. Again, shielding your work and remaining stuck in the middle of the creative process is taking away from the value you're about to offer. It's a bold move for sure. It's scary, especially if the work isn't as good as it can be. But if you're holding back from shipping your work out of fear that it will be criticized, is quite silly, and you will remain at that level forever. Know that there is a chance that whatever you produce might fail. That is the creative life. Some of the daily visuals I've been publishing have been poor, and haven't resonated with people. The point is that you ship your work to gather momentum and experience to create better work next time. So ship your work. Just to make sure I'm enunciating correctly, I'm saying ship, like the big boat. I believe Seth Godin coined the term ship. At least that's who I attribute the phrase to. So just put your work out there. Allow the intended audience to consume or use what you've created. And that's it for today's episode of the Creative Time Chamber. If you listen all the way through, just know that I appreciate your time, and the hope is that you're able to take one thing away from today and apply it to your creative projects. Once again, shout out to the voters. If you voted on this topic, let me know if I hit the right pain points. You as well listening, would be great to know if there was anything you found useful today. And before you move on to the next videos, give this one a quick like. Thanks again. Until then, take care. This is the Creative Time Chamber, where you enter shy and leave a more confident creative.